Today we will start general science of standard 8. Okay, so today we will start a new chapter in our general science, that is first chapter in general science is living world and classification of microbes. Now what is a living world? The meaning of living world is that the organisms like plants, animals, human being also here live in the environment, that is living world. Okay, together all this organism make the living world. Now next part is classification of microbe. Now what is microbes? So see, here we will see what is microbes. Okay, so microbes, these are also called as a microorganism. Now see, these are, or microbes are the very tiny little things or very tiny little organisms that are found all around us. Okay, and they are too small, that is very difficult, too small to be seen by the naked eye. That means it is very difficult to see them with our naked eyes. Okay, and they live in water, soil, in the air. That means microorganisms are very tiny living organism, and it is very difficult to see them with our naked eyes. They present in around, and they present everywhere around us, inside the water, soil, and the air. Now we will move towards the next question, that is who invented before starting the chapter, let's recall some questions. So in that question number 1 is, what is the hierarchy for classification of living organism? Let's see, students, what is the meaning of hierarchy? Hierarchy means what are the steps or arrangement in which the living organisms can be classified. Okay, so here I have written some of the steps in which the living organism can be classified. First is kingdom. See, here it is first. Okay, second phylum, third class, fourth order, fifth family, sixth genus, seventh is species. Okay, so these 7 steps are required to classify the living organisms. Correct, students? Okay, now we will move towards the next question, that is who invented binomial system of nomenclature? So here we have Carl Linnaeus invented the binomial system of the nomenclature. Now let's move towards the third question, which levels of hierarchy are considered while writing the name of in binomial nomenclature? Now here the question is that which steps are considered while writing the name of living organism in binomial nomenclature. Okay, now here see, binomial nomenclature is considered with scientifically name the living organism. Okay, now living organisms are named using 2 terms. Okay, so in binomial nomenclature, living organisms can be written in 2 terms. First is genus, that is generic name. Second is specific name, that denotes a species. First we will write the genus name, then followed by the species name. Now here I have one example for you students, that is man, we, human being. Okay, so what is the scientific or binomial name of we, human being, or the man? See, homo, genus homo, species is sapiens. That means scientific name or binomial name of the human being is, or man is, homo sapiens. Got it? Okay students, now we will move towards the chapter. So first part of the chapter is biodiversity and need of classification. Okay, now what is about biodiversity? Now see here, biodiversity is the variety of plants. The variety of plants it is, and plants also called as a flora, and animals means fauna. Life in the world, that means simple words, biodiversity is a variety of plants and animal life in the world or in the particular habitat or the particular region. So this is the meaning of biodiversity. Okay, now we will see. Last year we learned that all the living organisms on the earth have adapted according to geographic region, food ingestion, defense, etc. So in previous standard we have learned that the living organisms on the earth have adapted. That means they adapted some features to survive in the particular region. For example, in geographic region, that means whether the region is hot region or cold region or moderate region. Okay, and food ingestion. Now what is the meaning of ingestion? See here, when animal or plants take their food inside in their body, for example by eating or by absorbing. Okay, now next is defense. That means how the animals survive or protect themselves from the other animals. While adapting, many differences are observed in the organisms of species too. So see here, while adapting the particular features according to the region, food ingestion or defense, many differences are observed in the organism of same species too. According to 2011 census, around 87 million species of living organisms are found on the earth, including land and sea. That means including the land and sea, around 87 million of species are found on the earth. To study such vast number or such a vast variety of animals and plants and other organisms, it was essential to divide them into groups. That means to study the different types of plants, animals, microorganisms, organisms. The animals should be divided in some group or some order. So groups and subgroups were created considering the similarities and differences among living organisms. That means on the basis of their similarity and their differences, animals are categorized into groups and subgroups. Okay, this process of dividing living organism into groups and subgroups is called as a biological classification. Now what is biological classification? That means according to the similarity and differences of the living organisms, the organisms are dividing into groups and subgroups. It is called as a biological classification of living organism. Okay, now here some historical part is given. I am just reading for you. Carl Linnaeus in 1735 divided living world in two kingdoms, Vegetabilia and Animalia. Vegetabilia means plants and Animalia animals. Haeckel in 1866 considered three kingdoms, Protista, plants and animals. In 1925, Chatham created two groups, prokaryotes, eukaryotes. Prokaryote simple cell, eukaryote complex cell. In 1938, Copeland divided living organisms into four kingdoms, Monera, Protista, plants and animals. Okay students, so Robert Harding Whittaker 1920-1980 was an American ecologist. In 1969 he divided living organisms into five groups. For this classification, Whittaker considered following criteria. So, for dividing the living organisms in 5 groups, he made some criteria. This 5 criteria which he made for dividing the living organism. So, out of that, first is complexity of cell structure. Now, see, complexity of cell structure means how the cell structure is complex from the other cell. Now see, here it is prokaryote and eukaryote. Now I have some written notes for you students, that is prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells. Now we will see what is a prokaryotic cell. Okay, so the bacteria is having prokaryotic cells. So in this prokaryotic cells, no distinct nucleus or no proper nucleus is there. Most primitive forms of life on the earth. Most primitive, that means most earliest form of the cell of life on the earth. Most earliest. It is a capsule like, no membrane wall is present. Now eukaryotic cell, there are larger and more complex than prokaryotic cell. That means eukaryotic cell is greater and more complex than the prokaryotic cells. In prokaryotic cells, no proper or no distinct nucleus is present. So, but in eukaryotic cells, proper nucleus is present. These contain mitochondria and Golgi apparatus. In addition, plants and algae cells contain chloroplast. That means in eukaryotic cells it contains chloroplast. What is chloroplast? It is some pigment is there which helps the plants to in the process of photosynthesis to prepare their own food in the presence of sunlight. This pigment helps the plants in the process of photosynthesis to prepare their own food. So have you understood what are the prokaryotic and eukaryotic cell? Okay. Now we will see the next point, that is complexity of organism. Now in complexity of organism, unicellular or multicellular. Unicellular one cell, multicellular many cells. Mode of nutrition, that means how they get their nutrition. Plants autotrophic, photosynthesis. Now see, plants are autotrophic, that means they do not depend on another organism. They prepare their own food by the process of photosynthesis. Now fungi, saprophytic. Saprophytic means they absorb food from dead organism, like dead plant or dead animals, like dead bread, like this animals. Heterotrophic and ingestive, that animals are heterotrophic, that means they depend on another organism to survive and they take their food in their body. Now lifestyle, plants are producers, they prepare their own food. Animals are consumer, they consume plants or they consume plants. Other animals, fungi are decomposers, they are decomposes or they get their food from dead organism. Next is phylogenetic relation. What is phylogenetic relationship? See, prokaryotic, how the evolution takes place from prokaryotic cells to into eukaryotic cells. How the unicellular organisms are developed into the multicellular organism. Like see, the amoeba was the first cell to be found on the land. Amoeba to last human, most single cell to multi-cell. So students, here the chart is given five kingdom system of classification. So living organisms are classified into prokaryotes, eukaryotes. Just now I have explained you that prokaryote simple cell, eukaryote more complex and larger than the prokaryotes. Unicellular, prokaryotic. Under prokaryotes we have unicellular organism, that means single cell organism. And under unicellular prokaryotic living organism we have one kingdom, that is monera. That means only single cell is present and it is very simple form of the cell. Now we will move toward the eukaryotic cell. Now under the eukaryotic cells we have two types of cells: unicellular, multicellular organisms. Unicellular, again single cell, multicellular more than one cell. Now under the unicellular eukaryotic organism we have kingdom 2, that is protista. And in multicellular organism we have three kingdom, that is kingdom 3 is fungi. See, it is fungi. Cell wall is present but organism can't perform photosynthesis. Why? Because absence of pigment chloroplast. Kingdom 4 is plantae. In this plantae cell wall is present and organisms can perform photosynthesis. Why they perform the photosynthesis, students? Because the pigment chloroplast is present in the cell. So the chloroplast helps the plants to perform the photosynthesis in the presence of sunlight. Kingdom 5, animalia, no cell wall. Okay, so this is the diagram in which the 5 kingdom system are living organisms are classified into 5 kingdoms. Okay students, so this is so simple to understand.